Okay. So uh, this is the fourth year in a row that we are doing a Circling by the Sea retreat together in Norway in a spectacularly beautiful house right by the ocean,
Mm.
um, focused on bringing circling and surrender leadership into everyday life.
Yeah, and I like the idea of kind of connecting on what this is for us. It feels like it's kind of new and the same every year.
Yeah, and it's actually quite tricky to talk about these retreats, I find, because they're very close to my heart and very special in some way. And then they're also a bit harder to grab onto, like, what is this about? Because it's not so much about a theme or practicing in a particular way. It's more about a vibe or like a background feeling for me.
Yeah, it's almost like vibe is to kind of party like, or it's like it goes very close to my heart. It's retreats. Yeah, it feels to me like wanting to invite people to a sense of home, like uh, like what home is for me at least. So
Mm.
I feel a lot less like I'm kind of a facilitator in this context and a lot more like on a family trip or something like that. Not with my own family, but with a yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense for me. There is some kind of like allowing myself to rest or like lean back and be held by reality. That seems to be a central quality of these experiences and wanting to invite others into that. And then it's simultaneously also like there's this like just really wanting to give
Hmm.
that also feels strongly in me that like this is the like the most beautiful place I've had in my life for well since I was born, and wanting to invite people there and wanting to cook really good food for people, and wanting to sort of show the best things I've found through practice over the years.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think also the nature there, you mentioned holding. And I think for me, a lot of the holding is also like the place is holding so much for me. It's like the ocean and the forest and the house and the memories and the traditions. Like there is so much sense, like there's so much that's holding for me in that context.
Mm. Yeah, and holding in a like I often talk about holding as something I want to get away from, or like holding as contraction. But here it feels like holding as in something I can lean into. like a
Yeah.
restful sense of being held,
Mm.
like trusting more, or oh, I can let go a bit more here. I don't have to effort or manage to be allowed to exist, but it's like, no, I can actually just be.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Mhm.
and then I think it's also quite special in the way that the memories I have from being there at these retreats are quite unique for me. And it's like, I don't know, I've led 100 weekends in the last 10 years at least. And these retreats have always had a different flavor, and like the experiences I remember are quite different. It's like such a vivid memory of like going to breakfast and passing someone in the living room, and then ending up in a quite short moment with her where she asks me if I want to like host her or be with her. And that question just completely blowing me open. And then having this like just seeing her as the Buddha or something like that, and just being completely blown away. And then going to the breakfast table and just sitting with this experience of, oh, like, and there's so many of those small, I don't know if they're random, but like these small but very precious encounters that have happened to me in the everyday life of these retreats.
I really don't know why, but when you brought up memories, it's like the thing that comes is like people leaving a retreat last years and like standing up in the garage, like everyone who is still there and singing for the people who are leaving, like one after one, and singing the same song for everyone and like waving them goodbye. I think there's something very touching about that.
Hmm.
It's so innocent. And yeah, I think it's something with like having had that week together. And like there's so many memories. And now it's coming to an end, but we're like slowly like stepping into something new. And at the same time, like being together in this process of letting go. And yeah.
Yeah, and there's something like it's tricky because we like in this circling and surrender leadership landscape, we talk like always talk about sort of the intimacy of it and the connection of it and the landing in presence and community, and that is true. And for me, it feels different on these retreats. It's like it has a different quality. And it's not like we are going to be friends with everyone that goes there afterwards and spend a lot of time together. But it's like there's like a real there's a there's a different sense of realness to the warmth I feel when I think about the people who have been at these retreats.
Mm.
Like I have a different sense of genuine care and just like, oh yeah, this person was there and we went through these things and they're in the world, and it they matter in a different way for me.
I imagine that it might also be connected to like that we don't really step in and out of a container like during this week. Like we are in the container. we eat in a container, and the container is life. But it's like, can we live life from a place that has the qualities we want?
Hmm.
And I imagine that has that effect. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess in that way, it is also an ongoing experiment of like, is this possible?
Mm.
Like, how is it possible to live life from surrender, um, from more presence, from more truth, from more,
Heart.
yeah.
Mm.
And and that is tricky. I find like it's not easy to bring these things into everyday life in the fullness I would want. But in at these particular retreats, I think we have succeeded quite well with that.
I agree. Yeah.
Um, and I guess some of it has to do with place and the surroundings and the history. Um, but I think there's also really something to the intimacy of, yeah, it feels like inviting people into home and not into a workshop space.
Mm.
So like there's home first and then there's workshopping or like practices that we lead. Um, and that makes a big difference, I think.
Mm. That makes so much sense. I really like that framing.
Mm. Mm. And I get the pictures I get when I sort of was sitting here imagining what it will be like to be there is very much outside also. It's very much sort of people being on the lawns, people picking berries for their breakfast in the bushes, and people being on the sup boards, paddling around, and like,
The islands.
mm,
I also have very clear memory of like going with the boat out onto the open ocean, sitting on the islands with like this vast ocean, just infinite ocean around us, and kind of connecting in that context and allowing that reality to kind of be a part of the experience. So also,
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then there's also a sense of like, well, you already spoke to tradition, but there's also some kind of sense of tradition in. I think it's very likely that some of the people that have been there previous years will be there again. And there is something with this, like returning to the same place and the same context and bringing new people into it that also feels like building something, or it's different and it will be different this year, for sure. And it also has a sense of something that is already there that is continuing or growing or living.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's interesting to try to speak to it. It's like I've been doing a lot of video the last couple of days, and found myself more in sort of an engaged sort of, oh, let's map things out and I want to understand this, or let's talk about the nuances. And I noticed that when we're talking about this now, it's, yeah, I feel my heart more, but I also feel there's something with the intimacy of it that makes it a bit more difficult to talk about.
Mm.
I find myself being more in the silence and the sort of the felt sense of it, and feel less good at finding precise words to.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any more words at the moment.
Yeah, I guess one thing I want to speak to is just this opportunity to rest that I want to give to everyone who comes. Not rest as in sleeping a lot, but rest as in, oh, the world is actually a pretty nice and safe place to be in
Mm.
when we're there together, and that we can hold each other in, like, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole spectrum. Like we can hold each other in the struggles and in the fun, which can also be really vulnerable and in like so much freedom.
Mm. Yeah, and that seems to be the stretching that happens also here, that it has this like, oh, am I actually allowed to be this free, or to love this much?
Mm.